time for Dodger Baseball. Live from Dodger Stadium, Sportsnet LA presents the Dodgers as they take on the Philadelphia Phillies. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Tuesday evening to you. Welcome to Dodger Stadium, Game 2 of the 3-game series with the Phils, against whom the Dodgers have had some good luck. They've won 7 of the last 9. By the way, Philadelphia in a rebuilding process. They are the youngest team in the major leagues, averaging just a little bit more than 25 years old. For the Dodgers, they wind up being the 6th oldest team in the majors, a little more than 29 years. On the mound for Philadelphia, a right-hander out of Pomona. He went to Gary High School, and his name is Vincent Velasquez. They remembered his name for sure in that game he pitched against San Diego. He not only shut out the Padres, he struck out 16 without allowing a walk. The Dodgers did see him once briefly last year. He pitched 1 inning in relief when he was with Houston, facing Yasiel Puig and Carl Crawford. On the mound for the Dodgers tonight, Kenta Maeda with a record of 10-7, coming off a victory against Colorado. He beat them 4-2. And tomorrow, remember, a 12-10 game. It'll be Jeremy Kellickson with a record of 9-7, and the Dodgers counter with Scott Kazmir 9-5. Coming up, a good ball game and a whole lot more right after this. Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant Tuesday evening to you, wherever you may be. It's the Dodgers and the Phils, Game 2 of the 3-game series, and the Dodgers, led by Corey Seager, take the field, trying to extend a 4-game winning streak against Philadelphia, against whom they've already won 7 of the last 9. For Philadelphia, a ball club struggling because it's in transmission. It's a very young club. You might not remember most of the names. Cesar Hernandez leads off at second, Odubel Herrera in center, and Michael Franco at third. You certainly remember Ryan Howard at first. Cameron Rupp behind the plate, Aaron Altier in right, Freddie Galvis, another name that might ring the bell, at short, Cody Ashe in left field, and the pitcher Vince Velasquez. On the mound for the Dodgers, Kenta Maeda with a record of 10-7. Usually with good control, it's been great of late. 1 walk in his last 5 starts. So Maeda ready. The switch hitter Hernandez, batting left-handed, takes a pitch low, and a 1-ball, no-strike count. Hernandez playing second, third, and short. At one time, they had him playing center field, but just briefly. Basically a second baseman, and hitting .289. Here comes Maeda back high and away. Beautiful evening. Temperature 75 degrees. The flag's barely stirring in center field. Idyllic evening. The lights are on. A big canopy of powder blue overhead. And the 2-0 pitch on the way. Maeda deals slow curveball in for a strike, and the count 2-1. Cesar Hernandez, 5'10", about 165, from Valencia, Carabobo in Venezuela. Maeda into the windup. 2-1 pitch on the way. Fastball, but that's low and away. Maeda doesn't overpower the hitters. That fastball at 89. Hernandez signed by the Phillies 10 years ago and finally came up after 7, almost 8 years in the minors. 3-1 pitch, swung on, popped in the air. Seager backs out on the grass, and the young shortstop makes the catch. Just like that, 1 away. Let's take a look at the Dodgers with the leather. Gonzalez and Utley, Seager and Turner, Kendrick, Peterson and Reddick, Randall behind the plate, and Kenta Maeda on the mound. So 1 away on the pop fly to the shortstop, Odubel Herrera. Hitting .282. He started off the year hitting .313. Then in May, he hit .324. June, .276. July, .227. But in August so far, hitting better than .350. Though the first pitch, he runs up the bunt and takes it low, ball 1. 1 ball and no strike. By the way, we get the final score. Marlins 2, Giants nothing. Tom Kohler, the winning pitcher. Matt Moore, the young left-hander, lost it. Stanton and Ozuna had RBIs. 1 ball and no strikes the count to Odubel Herrera. Into his windup goes Maeda, back with a fastball. That's popped up. Angling out is Seager. Coming in is Hendrick, and Howie makes the catch. Tonight is Howie Kendrick bobblehead night, and it was a delightful scene. His 2 young sons were here and standing together. They first of all threw the ball from home plate, from the mound to home plate, and they were terrific. And then after that, they stood at the microphone and together sang it out. It's time for Dodger baseball. So they were really cute. Stole the hearts. There they are. And their dad is doing the catching. That's Owen and Tyson. All right, boys, you did very well on Daddy's volunteer night. Bobblehead for Howie Kendrick. So we have 2 down on pop flies, 1 to the shortstop, 1 to the left fielder. And Michael Franco coming up. Franco already denting the Philadelphia record book. He has 20 home runs, takes off the plate, check swing, 1 ball, 1 strike. In the long history of the Phillies, only 2 third basemen have ever hit 30 home runs in a season. Scott Rowland did it. Mike Schmidt did it 13 times. Those who have hit 20 but not 30, well,
Michael joined them. There, Dave Hollins, Gene Freese, Pudd'nhead Jones, Todd Zeile, and Michael Franco, who has a shot, of course, to hit 30 before the year is over. Franco batting third. On deck, the one name that really jumps out with recognition, and that would be Ryan Howard. 2-1 pitch on the way is low up the plate, ball 3. Dodgers have loaded up the infield on the left side. Ryan Howard, he spent so many years that you could almost write a book on his remarkable career. 373 home runs for the big man. Here's the 3-1 pitch coming up. Maeda's fastball hit foul off third, way upstairs, and 3-2 the count. Ryan Howard, the on-deck hitter, was born in November of 1979. So all of a sudden, he'll be 37. 3-2 the count. Franco waiting, 2 out, bases empty, no score. Maeda into the windup. 3-2 pitch is fouled away. Tomorrow is a 12-10 game. Jeremy Hellickson 9-7. Scott Kazmir 9-4. Dodgers are then off on Thursday. Kazmir on the rail alongside of A.J. Ellis. Then Friday night, the Pirates will be here. Thursday is an off day. Tomorrow's game 12-10. Fastball, a comebacker. Speared nicely by Maeda. Throws to first for the out. So the Phillies go down 1-2-3. And at the end of half an inning, Philadelphia nothing, and the Dodgers coming up.
Yes, it's time for the Dodgers.
So we'll take a look at the Dodger lineup. Chase Utley will lead off at second base. Corey Seager is the shortstop. Then you have Justin Turner at third. Josh Reddick hits cleanup in right. Adrian Gonzalez at first. Yasmani Grandal, the catcher. Jock Peterson in center field. Howie Kendrick in left. And Kenta Maeda on the mound. On the mound is Vince Velasquez. He's from Pomona. And from Pomona, graduated from Gary High School. He had a game, and we're really going to dwell on that at least for a little bit. He had a game this year in April where he struck out 16, no walks, and shut out the Padres. It's important to know all that as he makes his pitch to Chase Utley, and Utley takes ball 1. Utley last night homered, so he has 244 career home runs, equaling the record of the wonderful second baseman for the Detroit Tigers, Lou Whitaker. That would be 9th best as a second baseman. He had 233 with Philadelphia. Counting last year and this, he has hit 11 as a Dodger. So the strike one pitch coming up. Check swing. Pitch is a little low. And a 1-ball, 1-strike count. All right, 16 strikeouts, no runs. We'll duck him in between pitches. It was a remarkable accomplishment for Velasquez from Pomona, 6'3", 205-pounder, and 24 years old. First of all, the 7th 9-inning game in history where a pitcher had 16 strikeouts, no runs, and no walks. Here's the 1-1 pitch on the way, swung on and missed. Only one other pitcher had allowed 3 hits, walked none, and struck out as many. Roger Clemens, who fanned 18 Royals in 1998. 1 ball and 2 strikes the count. Utley waiting. Velasquez turns. Right-hander ready in his 1-2 pitch. Fastball high at 94. The only other active pitcher with a 16 strikeout, 0 walk shutout, Max Scherzer, who struck out 17 back in 2015. For his 16 strikeouts, most by a Phillies pitcher since Cliff Lee back in May of 2011, and he works it low, and the count goes 3-2. The only other pitcher with 15-plus strikeouts, no walks, Curt Schilling, did it against the Yankees back in 1997. So in other words, he's very young, relatively unknown, and turned in a magical game. 3-2 pitch. Utley is swung on and missed, and down he goes. So 1 away. Corey Seager coming up. We'll take a look at the Phillies defensively. Howard, Hernandez, Galvis, and Franco, Ashe, Herrera, and Altier, and Ruff behind the plate. So here is Corey Seager. He set the world on fire last night, hitting 2 home runs for the 4th time this year. He has 21 home runs, 54 runs batted in, batting .302. And the first pitch to Corey, in at the knees for a strike, and the count 0-1. Corey Seager, 21 home runs. Glenn Wright, going way back to 1930, had 22. Strike 1 fastball is low. Hanley Ramirez, remember, when he was here as a shortstop, hit 20. And way back in 1949, Pee Wee Reese hit 16 at Ebbets Field. 1 ball and 1 strike to Corey Seager. 1 away, first inning. Velasquez, both feet on the rubber, looks down to get a sign. Now big fella turns. 1-1 pitch, fastball swung on and missed. That was 95. A couple of more notes on Velasquez. At home, his earned run average 1.7. On the road, however, 4.69, almost 5. Here's the 1-2 pitch on the way, in the dirt with a slider, and the count 2-2. On 4 days rest, his earned run average is 2.7, and he's pitching on 4 days rest tonight. All right, 2-2 the count. Vincent John Velasquez. He had Tommy John surgery in 2011, and the fastball in there at the knees. Strike 3 called. So Velasquez rings up Utley, then nails Seager, and that will bring up Justin Turner. 2 out, first inning, no score. Turner with a 9-game hitting streak, 20 home runs, 65 runs batted in, and hitting .274. Velasquez, both feet on the rubber, checking in. Now to his windup, and the right-hander's first pitch to Justin Turner, in at the knuckles, ball 1. 96-mile-an-hour fastball. He has been clocked, as Velasquez, as high as 98. Here's the 1-0 pitch on the way. Turner lifts that leg, takes a look at a strike, and the count 1-1. You know that scouting scale from 20 to 80, his fastball, which sinks, is at least a 70. 1-1 pitch, swung on, line drive over the leaping effort of the shortstop Galvis. So Turner has hit safely in 10 straight with a 2-out single to left field, and that will bring up Josh Reddick. So Josh Reddick coming up with a man aboard, a leap by Freddie Galvis, just over his glove. If he were a couple of inches taller, he'd have caught it. Turner, meanwhile, laughing a little bit, whatever said with Ryan Howard. So here is Reddick. Josh checking in, trying to keep it going, hitting .278, struggling with the new club, 2 for 23. Reddick has a look at a strike, and the count 0-1. Vincent John Velasquez, signed by the Astros back in 2010, and they're building upon him, are the Phillies, for a great future and not a bad present. He's 8-3. Recovering from Tommy John surgery. He has two brothers who are in the Marines. His father was a Marine. Here's the strike one pitch on the way. Turner short lead. Reddick swings, doesn't get it, and the count 0-2. Dodgers have been scoring 5 runs a game for the past 35 games. So when you're scoring 5 or more, that'll put a smile on the face of just about every manager. The pitching has soured, so the hitting has gotten them where they are, along with the bullpen. Pitch to Reddick is low and inside. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Reddick, left-hand batter, waiting. Velasquez out of his stretch, takes a look over at Turner. Now back to the hitter. Fastball swung on and missed, and down goes Reddick. So, welcome to Los Angeles. Welcome home as he strikes out the side. And at the end of an inning, no score. Faced 18 pitches against Maeda in the first inning. So we go to the second inning, no score, and Kenta, wearing the number, will face big Ryan Howard. Ryan Howard, 6'4", 245, born in St. Louis, still lives in Missouri. And boy, he is like a statue up there at the plate. 373 home runs. Maeda deals, foul ball up to the left, out of play. One of the things about Howard, he is so powerful that he is homered everywhere. 13th year with the Phillies, not hitting much, but he does have 16 home runs. Make a mistake, he'll hit it out. In his career, he spread them out. Here's the strike one pitch on the way. That's taken a little low. He's hit 82 to left, 56 left center, 77 to center, 59 to right center, 74 to right. I mean, he just can power him anywhere. Rookie of the Year in 2005. 1-1 pitch, swung on and fouled at the plate, and the count 1-2. After being Rookie of the Year in 2005, he was the National League MVP in 2006. He happened to beat out Albert Pujols. 1-2 the count. Maeda ready. Here he comes, and it swung on and hit to dead center. Back goes Peterson to make the track right near the wall, not quite at the wall. I would say 3 feet from the wall. So Maeda dodges a bullet as Howard lines out to center. 1 out in the second inning. Jock Peterson makes the catch, answers the applause by blowing a bubble. And the batter now is Cameron Rupp. Cameron Rupp, the young catcher, who is fortunate he's beginning his career, and the wonderful catcher for the Phillies for so many years, Carlos Ruiz, is still there. So Ruiz working with Cameron Rupp and making him a better catcher, I'm sure, just about every day. Right-hand batter. Maeda ready, pauses, delivers, gets a strike, and the count 0-1. Cameron Rupp in last night's game had 2 base hits and a walk. Maeda comes back 0-1 and works it low. 1 ball, 1 strike, 1 out, second inning, no score. Vince Velasquez came home, the boy from Pomona, struck out the side in the first inning. The off-speed pitch in for a strike, and the count 1-2 to Rupp. Maeda taking plenty of time, no rush. Right foot right in the middle of the rubber. And his 1-2 pitch coming up is a little low, and a 2-ball, 2-strike count. No score, second inning. Again, we'll remind you for a while. The Giants lost. They got a good game from their acquired left-hander Matt Moore, but he lost 2-0. So the Dodgers have a chance to whittle away and get to within 1. 2-2 pitch on the way. Breaking ball way off the plate. 3-2 the count. On deck behind Rupp is Aaron Altair. Maeda rocks into his windup, and the pitch to Cameron hit late back into the screen. Cameron, since May the 12th, imagine May the 12th, has hit .368 with runners in scoring position. He's become a very valuable asset in the pressure slots. The Rupp with a 3-2 count. Maeda ready. No score, second inning. Maeda delivers off speed, and it is low. So Rupp on an off-speed pitch just did hold up. The pitch out of the zone.
Right fielder
So the
number 23,
Phillies have a
Aaron
base
Altair.
runner, and Aaron Altair coming up. Altair playing right field last night and again tonight. Last night he was 0 for 4 with a walk and scored a run. He scored on that bad throw by Urias to the plate and what could have been an easy double play. Aaron Altair checking in. He had a 5 RBI game against the Giants. He takes the first pitch low, ball 1, 1-0. He was activated off the DL on the 28th of July. He missed the first 103 games because of surgery, wrist surgery. The 1-0 pitch on the way, and that's down and away on a check swing. No swing, says John Tumpain. Altair, 6'3", 190, born in Germany. We mentioned about that last night. Altair's mom, a U.S. service member, and His father, a former German soccer player. Altair fouls it back. And the count 2-1 strike. Aaron Samuel Altair, signed by the Phils at a Buckeye High School in Arizona. He's 25 years old. To repeat, the Phillies are the youngest team in the majors, averaging 25 years. Dodgers sixth oldest, averaging 29. 2-1 pitch, fastball lifted to center. Peterson going back, still going back to the track at the wall, and it is gone. Altair, a long fly ball that just did carry over the fence, and just like that, the Phillies are out in front 2-0. Both Peterson and Reddick each thought they might have a play, but it kept carrying and just did clear it. So Rupp walks. Altair hits a home run. That would be his third. And just like that, the Phillies lead 2-0. Peterson climbing the wall, but couldn't quite make the catch. So for Maeda, painful to watch, but now he has to go back to work. And the batter, the left-hand hitting Freddie Galvis, and Freddie takes a strike, and the count 0-1. For Maeda, home runs allowed, that would be the 14th that he's given up. Strike one pitch on the way. Freddie pings it foul off to the left. Galvis last night hit a long fly ball to left and proceeded to go 0 for 4, striking out his last time up. Maeda ready. Strike two pitch on the way, and that's down and away. Still 0-2. Now 1-2 with one out. Maeda, in his last 3 starts, the Dodgers have won all 3. His 1-2 pitch is taken very low. 2-2. Kenta beat the Rockies 4-2. Going 5 2/3. He runs out of steam right around the 5th inning. Kenta looking. Galvis strikes out. Now back into the plate. 2-run home run by Altair, and the Phillies lead 2-0. 2-2 pitch on the way. Line drive, base hit into left field. Kendrick over to play it on a hop. So with one out, and remember the out was a long fly ball that Peterson caught about 3 feet from the center field wall. Then Rupp walked. Altair homered. Galvis singles. Cody Ashe is now coming up. Ashe hitting .211. He spent a long time, 50 some odd games on the DL, an oblique strain. So the Phillies have had their problems. By the way, the Dodgers have another problem. Scott Van Slyke hurt his wrist. He's gone on the DL. And Chris Taylor, who was just sent down, has come right back. Cody takes a big, slow breaking ball in for a strike, and the count 0-1. Cody Ashe, 6'1", 190. 26 years old, from O'Fallon, Missouri, lives in St. Charles, went to school at the University of Nebraska. 2 years ago, he had a pretty good year for the Phillies. Big left-hand batter. He had 10 home runs, 46 runs batted in. When he broke in with the Phillies, he broke in Missouri and had a 3-run bases clearing double in the second inning, much to the thrill of all the friends and relatives who came over to watch him from St. Charles. 4th round pick by the Phillies back in 2011. Ashe back up to the plate. He grew up about 25 miles from Busch Stadium. Here's the strike one pitch. There goes the run at Galvis. The throw is a little high. The tag is missed. And by the time Seager can get him again, he has stolen the base. Throw was slightly high, and that was the difference. Took Seager a chance, a big long sweep. Dodgers might or might not contend. The throw, Seager comes down. I'm not sure. I think maybe he might have missed the original effort. Take a look. I don't know whether it touched the right knee or not, but then Galvis got his left foot on the bag. Well, he took a pretty good tag right below the belt. So let's see. Andal thought that he had him, and they're going to review it. Bob Guerin gets on the phone, checks with the videographer, and timeout for the moment. Galvis had stolen 10 and caught only 3 times. The fact that Seager actually made 2 efforts to tag him. He makes 1, then he brings the glove up, and then goes back down in case Galvis comes off the bag, but he never did. So we will see in a moment. Close play at second base. Millions of dollars of equipment to whether he was safe or out. The umpire at second base, Alan Porter, had a split second to make the call. We always marvel at the job the umpires do. Nope, a long look, very close. Maeda is going to use the time and continue to warm up. So Galvis waiting. He's either 11 out of 14 or 10 out of 14. 2 runs in favor of Philadelphia. A walk to Rupp, the catcher, and the home run by Altair. Grandal gunning that throw down to second. I think Yasmani thought that he might have gotten him. So again, we'll wait and see. Maeda, by the way, gave up the home run on a 2-1 pitch. The opposition is just killing Tampa. They're batting 9 for 19. That's a .474 batting average on a 2-1 count, including 2 home runs. We are waiting. Trio of umpires. The plate umpire, Jeff Kellogg, holding the mask under his arm. Corey Seager saying something to Chase Utley, and for Reddy Galvis, he just sits in a crowd. So we'll wait and see. But again, the longer they wait, the more difficult the call had to be. Let's see. Safe or out? Safe. All right. So Galvis fields his 11th. 1 ball, 1 strike count. Grandal shaking his head. No, no. But then he said fertilizer. Can read his lips. Not much of a reaction by Corey Seager, but Galvis at second. 1 out and a 1-1 count on Cody Ashe. Ashe batting 8th, and the pitcher Velasquez on deck. Ashe hitting just .211. Maeda ready. Here he comes. Swung on and missed. 1-2. Ashe converted to the outfield. He had been a first baseman and a third baseman. Began to play left field June of last year. 1-2 pitch on the way to the left-hand batter, and it is swung on and fouled away off to the left. Dodgers and Phils, game 2 of the 3-game series. Dodgers have won 7 of the last 9 meetings. Last night, last year, 5 of 7, and the victory the last time they met before that. 1-2 to Cody Ashe. 2-0 Philadelphia. Giants lost 2-0. 1-2 pitch is pulled foul. That was a slow breaking ball, and he just turned and pulled it too much. 1-2 the count. Dodgers with a 3-game winning streak. Mickey Morandini coaching at first, and an old pal, Juan Samuel, coaching at third for the Phils. Samuel played here 1990, 1991, and 92. Here's the 1-2 pitch coming up. Maeda thinks better and backs off the rubber. With a left-hand hitter up, Turner naturally is way off the line, so the door is slightly open for Galvis if he decides to perhaps make a shot at it. And the pitch way outside to even up the count. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Velasquez waiting on deck. Maeda gives up a walk to Rupp, then the home run to Altair, and then the single to Galvis. Then the stolen base. The 2-2 pitch coming up. Maeda at the belt. Canada delivers. Swung on. Fly ball to center. Very playable. Coming up for it is Peterson to make the catch. So Galvis has nowhere to go but to hang on at second base. 2 down.
Pitcher number 28.
Velasquez coming up. Velasquez is a switch hitter, although maybe we should say he is a switch swinger. He has not had an at-bat left-handed. He's had 32 at-bats and he's had 7 hits. So he's not bad right-handed. In fact, even though they call him a switch hitter, he might have given it up. So Velasquez checks in. Maeda trying to end the inning. Starts him breaking ball down and away. Ball 1, 1-0. Vincent Velasquez from Pomona. The way he's been going this year, he wins if the Phillies can score 3 or more. He is 6-0 when the Phillies score 3. Well, they're leading 2-0 tonight. 1 ball and no strikes. Velasquez tired of waiting and backs out. All right, right-hand hitter checks back in. Maeda taking plenty of time. There goes Galvis. The pitch is a fire by Galvan, too late at third base. So Galvis, who was studying Turner, remember we mentioned when Ashe was at the plate that Turner had to play way off the bag. And watching Galvis, you knew he was thinking that door's open. And he took off. The throw by Grandal was high and late. And so Galvis singles, steals second, steals third. 2 down and a 2-0 count to Velasquez. And the pitch fouled away. And believe me, Galvis came way down the line on that pitch. So Freddie Galvis trying to make something extra happen. Boy, he did come down. He's talking to Samuel. Maeda, right-handed, pitching out of his stretch, so he's just looking right at him. 2-1. The next pitch, big swing and a miss by Velasquez, and the count 2-2. Of course, as we always do, whenever there's a runner at third, you wonder about the possibility of a wild pitch. Not a bad thought because Maeda has 4. 2-2. The next pitch, a check swing, strike 3. So Galvis singles, steals second and third. They lead him, but Altair hit a home run with Rupp aboard. And at the end of an inning and a half, 2-0 Philadelphia. The Dodgers and Pirates at 1:05. Then after the game, watch the classic film Ferris Bueller's Day Off, courtesy of Fandango. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/movies. 2-0 in favor of Philadelphia. It'll be Gonzalez, Grandal, and Peterson. Velasquez into the windup. Big right-hander over the top, sails a cutter on the inside. 1 ball and no strikes. 2 or more hits in 4 of his last 5 games. So Gonzalez now hitting .293. He has 10 home runs and promptly whacks one over the glove of Ryan Howard down into the right field corner, and on his way to second base with a double, Adrian Gonzalez. Gonzalez now has 20 doubles as he bangs that one into the right field corner. Big Howard up the ladder but couldn't get it. So the Dodgers now with a runner at second base, nobody out. Grandal, Peterson, and Kendrick coming up. 20 doubles. Corey Seager, remember, has 31 doubles. Here's Grandal hitting .235. Switch hitting catcher, batting left-handed. And the first pitch inside under the hands, ball 1. Velasquez hits .95 on the gun. One ball and no strikes. Velasquez ready. Comes back 1-0. Misses high. Ball 2. After the Tommy John surgery, Velasquez was pretty depressed. After all, he was only 18 years old. The rehab was grueling. And the fellow who turned him around, kept him on the right track, was a former Dodger pitcher. Well, not Dodger pitcher, San Diego pitcher, Doug Brocail. Here's the 2-0 pitch. Brocail told him, yeah, it's tough. And then after he learned Brocail had 2 Tommy John surgeries, then suddenly Velasquez thought, well, maybe that's not so bad. Well, he has stayed, and he's become a solid pitcher for the Phillies. 2-0 pitch on the way. Fastball outside. Ball 3. 3-0. Phillies sent a group of players to the Astros, and among those coming back to Philadelphia was Velasquez. Jock Peterson waiting on deck, and a 3-0 count to Grandal. Yasmani has hit 11 home runs since the 30th of June. The 3-0 pitch on the way. Velasquez deals, and it's a strike. 3-1. Grandal, as you know, is switch hitter. He has 17 home runs, 15 batting left-handed. Velasquez, well, he has allowed 11 home runs. Three and 1 the count. Here comes Velasquez. A little nubber out in front of the plate. Picked up by the pitcher. A high throw, but you have a high first baseman up there in Ryan Howard. On that little dribbler, that advances Gonzalez to third. So 1 out. Runner at third. 2-0 Philadelphia. And Jock Peterson now with a chance to pick up an RBI. Peterson with 16 home runs, 46 RBIs, 2 for 4 last night, hitting .241. Peterson doubled in the first inning and then doubled again in the 8th last night. Runner at third. The infield is back. It's 2-0 Philadelphia, bottom of the second inning. 1 out. Velasquez looks over at his man Gonzalez going down the line, gets a strike to Peterson, and the count 0-1. If he throws his changeup, it's usually strictly a left-handed hitter. Here's the strike 1 pitch on the way. Vincent out of a set, back over the top with a fastball away, and a 1-ball, 1-strike count. . Velasquez is tall and gets great extension. He is 6'3". He has his name written on his glove, and his stride is about 6 feet 8 inches. 1-1 pitch outside, ball 2. All you have to do is look at the mound and you can see the landing area, and it's a great distance from the rubber. And he has hit the very bottom of that dark area. So almost a 7-foot stride. Almost. 2-1 the count to Jock Peterson. Next pitch, a changeup banged into left field. And remember, his changeup is in the high 80s. So the only time he said he throws it is against a left-hander, and voila. Peterson takes the change, just slaps it into left field. Scoring is Gonzalez, and the Philadelphia lead now 2-1. And on his bobblehead night, here comes Howie Kendrick. So Jock Peterson on the bag. Velasquez kind of turns over to see what he's doing, and Kendrick checks in, batting .262, half a dozen home runs, 26 runs batted in. Howie takes low. Interesting how the Dodgers have not only moved him around defensively, they've moved him around offensively. He's just about batted in every spot in the lineup with the exception of pitcher. And as you know, he's played a little third, a lot of second, and a lot of left field. 1-0 pitch to Howie. Fastball, that's low. 2-0. So Velasquez struck out the side in the first inning. He did give up a base hit to Turner. Now here in the second, Gonzalez doubles. With 1 out, Peterson singles him home. So it's 2-1 Phils. Kendrick waiting on a 2-0 count. Velasquez ready, right-handed delivers, high fly ball to deep center. Back goes Herrera to the track, to the wall. It hits the top of the wall and goes over. Home run, and the Dodgers lead 3-2. Fellas struggle on their bobblehead night, but not Howie Kendrick, and he's being mobbed in the dugout. Got a good fastball inside part of the plate, muscled it to center. Herrera groping with his right hand, could not quite reach it. It hit the very top of the fence coming down and bounced over. So 3-2 Dodgers, and the first pitch now to Maeda, missing for ball 1. So for Howie Kendrick, another good moment for him. 7 home runs, 28 RBIs. Hello there, young man. 1 ball and no strikes to count. Velasquez back, missing low and inside, ball 2. So Rupp going out to talk to him. So Peterson, Gonzalez, and Kendrick, they all climb in to give the Dodgers the lead. Scott Van Slyke reduced to cheerleading with that sore wrist, but he's in uniform and in the dugout. So Velasquez gives up his 12th home run to Kendrick after a double and a single to Peterson. Only 1 out. Maeda ready, and the next pitch in for a strike, and the count 2-1. So the Howie Kendrick bobblehead is a success. It started off a success. Couldn't miss with his 2 little boys. Pitch foul back. His 2 boys went to the mound, threw the ceremonial first pitch to their father. Then they sang, "It's time for Dodger baseball," and now Dad hits a home run. What a night. 2-2 the count to Kenta Maeda. Velasquez back with a slider, whacked to left field. Over the head of Ashe. He has to go to the wall, and it bounces over the wall for a double. For Maeda, by the way, that is his 5th hit and his first double. So the wheels are coming off Velasquez. Little breaking ball, and Maeda just stayed on it. hit it over the head of Cody Ashe. First double of his career. So in this inning, Velasquez has given up a single, 2 doubles, and a home run. The big blow by Howie Kendrick, and it's 3-2 Dodgers, so they turned that 2-0 Philadelphia lead completely around. Velasquez now working on Utley, who struck out in the first inning. Remember, he struck out the side besides giving up a hit to Justin Turner. Right-hander ready. Here he comes and gets a strike. Utley struggling, not doing much hitting, but he did come up with a home run last night. He's hitting 147 in his last 10 games, going 1 for 4 last night. 0-1 the count. Velasquez fastball pulled on the ground to Big Howard. Ryan to the bag. Over to third base goes Maeda, and the batter will be Corey Seager.
Number 5, Corey Seager.
Corey Seager struck out in the first inning. Corey batting .301, 21 home runs. What's nice about watching Corey, he smiles a lot while playing the game. .54 runs batted in, and he has Maeda 90 feet away. Velasquez set, looks over at third, comes to the hitter, line drive, base hit, just off the tips of Ryan Howard's first base mitt. So Seager, a bullet, picks up the RBI for Howard. How near and yet so far. Howard just slowed it down. That's the best he could do. So Seager comes up with a bullet into right field, picks up a run batted in, and the Dodgers are enjoying a 4-run inning after the pitcher had struck out the side in the first inning. Bob McClure, the pitching coach, going out. Bob McClure is an interesting case. He's the son of the former head of cancer research at the University of California Medical Center in San Francisco. Bob's mom is an emergency room nurse, and for that matter, Bob considered a career as a biologist. Instead, sidetracked into baseball. And if you ask Bob McClure about a passion, he loves Harley Davidson motorcycles. He owns 13 of them. So Bob coming back to the dugout. Justin Turner, who singled in the first inning, checking in. Corey Seager with that base hit to drive in a run has dominated the East and Central. Howie Kendrick really lit the light, and the Dodgers have turned it into a 4-run inning. Seager is hitting .357 with 10 home runs against the East. Turner swings, doesn't get it. He's hitting .358 against the Central with 5 home runs. And Corey, within his own division, hitting .266 with 5 home runs. 0-1 the count. Velasquez in a long inning. Right-hander just holding the ball. Now delivers, and it's swung on and missed. Turner is the 8th man to come to the plate. Velasquez heaves a big sigh. Gonzalez doubled. Grandal grounded out. Peterson single. Kendrick homers. Maeda doubles. Seager singles. 4-2 Dodgers. And the next one swung on and missed, and Turner strikes out. However, 4 runs come home. 8 men come to the plate. The big blow. Fastball hit out by Howie Kendrick off the very top of the wall and kicking out. Cheers from Kershaw, McCarthy and company, and the Dodgers lead 4-2. Dodgers now lead 4-2. It'll be Hernandez, Herrera, and Franco going up against Kenta Maeda. Maeda is not a big, strong guy by Major League at all. Off-speed pitch hit down the left field line, slicing as she goes foul, and the count 0-1. Kenta Maeda is pitching tonight on 4 days rest. On 4 days rest, his record is 3 wins, 5 losses. On 5 days rest, 6-1. And in Japan, he's accustomed, we understand, to pitch about once every 6 days. Strike one pitch is in there, 0-2. So it's tough to turn everything around, and we'll see how he goes. At home, Maeda here is 3-5. On the road, 7-2. Strike two pitch high. 1-2 the count to Cesar Hernandez. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Hernandez in the 9th inning last night had a triple. Maeda comes back 1-2, and it's a breaking ball that drops low and inside. 2-2. With Maeda, not only the day's rest, it's also interesting to keep track as how he goes with the number of pitches. He's now made 50 pitches. 2-2 pitch on the way, and that's going to go foul. From 46 to 60, the opposition is hitting .221. He gets in trouble after 76 pitches. From 76 to 90, that's when the opposition is hitting .304. If he tries to push himself over 91, they're hitting .400. Pitch outside. 3-2 the count. Maeda, by the way, gave up the home run on the 29th pitch. All right, Kenta looks down to Grandal. We're in the top of the third, 4-2 in favor of the Dodgers. Giants lost 2-0. Next pitch fouled away again. So Hernandez hitting him every which way but foul. Odubel Herrera on deck. Hernandez has been on base safely in each of the last 16 games. 3-2 the count. Maeda very deliberate now in the 3-2 pitch, swung on and foul back. Render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and in this instance he's had an 8-pitch at bat with 4 foul balls. Maeda studying Grandal. Kenta ready now, and his 3-2 pitch off speed for ball 4. So Hernandez certainly wins the battle. That would be the second walk. He walked Rupp before the home run by Altair. Phillies 2 runs, 2 hits, 2 walks, 1 strikeout. Herrera flied to left field in the first inning. 12 home runs, 39 runs batted in. Odubel Herrera from Zulia in Venezuela. 5'11", a good 200 pounds. Left-hand batter. Takes a look at ball 1, 1-0. His nickname, El Torito, meaning the little bull in Spanish. He was given that nickname by his father. 1 ball and no strikes to the little bull, left-hand batter. 1-0 pitch on the way. That's a strike. Herrera hitting .282, 12 home runs, 39 runs batted in. Last year just starting out with the Phils. He had 8 home runs. 5'11", 200. He's 24. He'll be 25 almost the end of December. Here's the 1-1 pitch coming up. Maeda turns, throws to first. Back on the bag is Hernandez. Phillies like to run. Hernandez has stolen 11, but he has been caught 8. Phillies have stolen 63 bases. That's counting the 2 by Galvis tonight. 1-1 on the way. Maeda delivers, swung on and missed, and the count 1-2. For the Dodgers, they have stolen just 30 some odd, 33. The Dodgers have been hitting very well, keeping them above water. Starting pitchers have been troubled. The bullpen has been magnificent. 1-2 the count. Dodgers lead 4-2, top of the third. The 1-2 pitch on the way, swung on and missed, and the little bull goes back to the shop. So 1 out. Hernandez holding at first, and the batter will be Maikel Franco. Franco, another young pitcher upon whose shoulders the Phillies are building what they hope will be a pennant-winning team. In June, Michael knocked in 5 runs in a win at Yankee Stadium, and the next day at Yankee Stadium knocked in 5 more. Right-hand batter, they throw to first. Hernandez back on the bag. No opposing player had ever knocked in 5 runs in consecutive games at either the old or the new Yankee Stadium. So Franco from Azua in the Dominican Republic, 6'1", 180, right-hand batter. First pitch to him, in for a strike, and the count 0-1. Last year, Franco hit .278 against the West, .301 against the Central, and .193 in the East. Strike 1 pitch ready, and here comes Maeda. It swung on and missed, and the count 0-2. We're talking about the Phillies and the steal bases. We also should check, and they have struck out as a team over 911 times. Dodgers have struck out 888. All right, 0-2 the count. Hernandez at first, 1 away. The pitch to Franco, low, stopped by Bronco. The pitch was in the dirt. I think Grandal was worrying about the runner, so it made him look a little awkward as he went to his knees. Hernandez held on by Gonzalez, never moved. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Ryan Howard waiting on deck. 1 out, 3rd inning, 4-2 Dodgers. Now Maeda straightens up. Hernandez off the bag at first. 1-2 pitch is swung on. Fly ball, shallow left, trouble. It's going to drop. Up with it is Howie Kendrick. So a little fly ball single to put runners at first and second and 1 out. And the big guy, Ryan Howard, coming up. Howard hit a drive to deep center that was caught by Jock Peterson. 0 for 1. Still has the magic touch. 16 home runs, 32 runs batted in. By the way, in Philadelphia, there is a building that has been promised for years, is being built at the corner of gentrified neighborhood in South Philadelphia. 7,500 square feet, retractable batting cages, lined with artificial turf. It's at the intersection of 17th and Fitzwater. Young baseball and softball players in the city can practice all year. It will be called the Ryan Howard Training Center. So it's a legacy that Big Ryan will leave. Right now, 2 on. They load up the right side. Howard waits. Maeda checks. Comes to his hitter. Very high. Ball 1. 1-0. Mike Schmidt hit 548 home runs in his magnificent career. Howard has 90 of his home runs against left-hand pitching. Maeda looking at the 2 runners, comes back, and Howard takes off the plate. And the count 2-0. So Maeda in trouble. Howard not only was the quickest to reach 100 home runs, he was the fastest player in history to reach 250. 2 balls, no strikes. Ryan in high school played the trombone, the Music Man. Ryan back up and waiting. 2 balls, no strikes. Howard had an incredible year when you think about it. Back in 2006, Howard hit 58 home runs. He had 149 runs batted in. He had 48 home runs, 47 home runs. His dad is a project manager at IBM. All right, 2-0 the count to Ryan Howard. Maeda delivers, breaking ball, foul back, and the count 2-1. Howard checking with the plate umpire Jeff Kellogg. Did I swing at a strike? That bat that he swings, 35 inches and 34 ounces. A pretty big bat in this day and age, but he's a pretty big man. 6'4", 245. 2-1 pitch on the way, pulled foul into the crowd off first base, and the count 2-2. Howard in his second year in the big leagues hit 58. Kiner in his 51. Eddie Matthews 47. He was off to a great start and maintained it. Came up to the Phillies in 2005, still with them. Next pitch, a little fly ball. Coming up for it is Peterson, and the runners have nowhere to hold. So Howard, just a little fly ball. Easy play for Peterson. 2 on, 2 out, and Cameron Rupp coming up. Rupp walked, and that was followed by Altair's home run to give the Phillies a momentary 2-0 lead, but the Dodgers came right back with 4. Giants lost, so the Dodgers trying to pick up a game with a victory over Philadelphia. The Dodgers right now are 63-49. The Giants are 64-49. So if the Dodgers win, they will be flat even with the Giants, tied for first. All right, Rupp waiting. Phillies with 2 men on. Maeda trying to get out of the jam. And the off-speed pitch is hit to right center. On his horse is Peterson to backhand it on the dead run. No runs, a walk and a base hit, 2 left, and at the end of 2.5 innings, 4-2 Dodgers. a scrape in that third inning on a walk and a base hit. Ryan Howard the fly ball, and then Rupp another fly ball. So here we go in the bottom of the third. Reddick, Gonzalez, and Grandal in that order. Maeda, who does not pitch very long in any of his games and is in a little tough water. He's already made 69 pitches in his 3 innings. First pitch in for a strike to Reddick. Little note on Maeda as he's talking to the interpreter and Rick Honeycutt. Strike 1 pitch on the way, check swing. I don't think that hit the bat. Perhaps it did. No balls and 2 strikes. Maeda with his base hit, the double. That was his 5th hit. Clayton Kershaw has 7 hits. Kazmir and Wood 4. But when you talk about pitchers hitting, wow. Strike 2 pitch, swung on and missed, and down goes Reddick. Striking out a second time. 5 strikeouts for Velasquez and 1 out.
Number 23,
Adrian Gonzalez coming up. So again, Honeycutt pantomiming, and then Maeda's interpreter tells what he's trying to do. So Gonzalez, 400 career doubles, 300 career home runs. Altogether, what a career. 4-2 Dodgers. 1 out, 3rd inning. Fastball in for a strike. The Dodger record for hits by a pitcher, well, a fellow by the name of Clarence Mitchell way back in the 20s had 45. Don Newcomb had 42 hits. Don Drysdale had 39. Strike 1 pitch on the way is a changeup way off the plate. 1-1. Dodgers 4 runs, 6 hits. Phillies 2 runs, 3 hits. Vincent Velasquez and Kenta Maeda. Velasquez 1-1 pitch, changeup, outside and high, 2-1. Velasquez can strike out left-hand hitters. He had 54 coming into this game. Gonzalez fouls it away. Well, in this game, he has struck out Utley and Seager and Reddick twice. So he has 5 strikeouts, 4 against left-hand batters. So that gives him 58 strikeouts against left-handers. Interesting how notes add up. Here's the 2-2 pitch on the way. Gonzalez holds up, check swing, no swing, 3-2. In breaking down his pitching, the note says he gets a lot of strikeouts in the first inning. Well, Velasquez in the first inning tonight struck out the side. He doesn't last long, though. He's like Maeda. Here's the 3-2 pitch. Fastball whack to the gap in left center. That's going to go through to the wall. Adrian on his way with his 2nd double of the night. So with 1 out, Gonzalez doubles and Grandal coming up. So Gonzalez doubled down the right field line, takes a low fastball outside the plate and promptly bangs it into left center for a double. And with 1 out, Grandal hit back to the box. We mentioned Maeda doesn't last very long, about 5 2/3, and as big as Velasquez is, he also averages about 5.4 innings per start. Big guy's allowed 4 runs, 7 hits, and there's a drive into deep right field. Back goes Altair, away back. It is gone, and the Dodgers lead 6-2. Grandal continues his remarkable hitting. And the Dodgers open it up. When you have a catcher who can hit as well, and there was a switch hitting catcher, you have yourself a gold mine behind the plate. The Grandal has hit 12 home runs since June the 30th. For Grandal, most of his power as a left-handed batter. He's hit 16 left-handed, 2 right-handed to give him 18 for the year. So the Dodgers lead 6-2, and here's Jock Peterson. Velasquez delivers, little breaking ball strike, and the count 0-1. So Kendrick a 2-run home run in the second inning. Grandal a 2-run home run. That's 13 home runs allowed by Velasquez. And the strike one pitch Peterson takes away. Peterson singled to left field in the second inning to drive in Gonzalez. And Peterson was aboard when Kendrick homered, and that's outside, ball 2. Velasquez, 24 years old. Howie Kendrick waiting on deck. Vince Reddy in his 2-1 pitch, foul back to the screen. 2-2 the count to Jock Peterson. All right, Velasquez again looks down. Rupp hanging out a sign. And the 2-2 pitch way inside. 3-2 the count. So the Phillies got 2 in the second. Dodgers came back with 4. And now 2 more in the third to lead 6-2. Kendrick waiting on deck hit the 2-run home run. And now Grandal has done the same in the third. 3-2. Way off the plate, ball 4. So a promising beginning for Velasquez, the kid from Pomona. He struck out the side in the first inning. Utley, Seager, and Reddick. But he has really been pushed around ever since. He's ready to make his 60th pitch. We're only in the third inning. And remember, Maeda has made 69 pitches. So both pitchers struggling as far as the pitch count. And the pitch to Kendrick in for a strike. 0-1 to Howie. Maeda on deck. Velasquez is due to bat fourth when the Phillies come up in the fourth inning. Peterson at first, 1 out. 0-1 to Kendrick. We'll repeat, Scott Van Slyke is in the dugout, but he's on the DL with a bad wrist. Chris Taylor, the infielder, has been called back. Pitch in the dirt, gets away from Rupp. Holding, however, is Peterson. Pete Mackanin is the manager of the Phillies. Pete's a Chicago boy who now lives in Sarasota, Florida. Can't see him very much with that big railing in front of him. He was an infielder. He tells a story when he was playing for Whitey Herzog. Here's the 1-1 pitch on the way. Swung on, fouled away. Whitey Herzog, with a 21-year-old in his first big league season. And in 1973, the Ranger manager, Whitey Herzog, said to Pete, "You'll take over at shortstop for Jim Fregosi in the 8th inning." Well, Jim Bibby was pitching a no-hitter against the A's. And Pete had to go in at 21, a rookie with the pitcher pitching a no-hitter. Pitch is high, 2-2. First was a slow roller to short. Pete charged, picked it up, as threw a man out. And then Billy North, if you remember, Oakland North ran very well. And Billy hit one up the middle. And Pete, racing to his left, somehow made the stop and threw him out. And Bibby had the no-hitter. And what a thrill for a rookie. Ground ball to short. Galvis to second. They will turn it for the double play. So Howie Kendrick rides the elevator. 2-run home run in the second. Double play in the third. Another look. Fastball, and Grandal just buries that thing in the pavilion. And the Dodgers lead 6-2. On Sportsnet LA is brought to you by the Dodge Challenger. Test drive one at your local Dodge dealer today. And by Jack in the Box. Taste the all-new Jack's Brewhouse Bacon Burger today at Jack in the Box. Limited time only at participating restaurants. A slice of history. Tommy John and Steve Yeager celebrating the victory over Philadelphia, winning the National League Championship Series against the Phillies, October the 8th, 1977. Meanwhile, we have two starting pitchers who are laboring. Ball one. Maeda has now made 71 pitches in 3 innings. Velasquez has made 64 pitches in his 3 innings. Change in there, little spinner. 1-1. Time of game tonight's important. It's a 12:10 game tomorrow. 1-1. 1-2 the count. Aaron Altair, who came up after Rupp walked in the 2nd inning and proceeded to hit a home run. Dodgers 6 runs, 8 hits. Phillies 2 runs, 3 hits. And down he goes. Maeda began a strikeout with Velasquez, then picked up Herrera, and then nails Altair. 3 strikeouts for Canada. Freddie Galvis single to left and then proceeded to steal second and steal third to no avail. Velasquez struck out, and that was that. Freddie hitting .229. And ball one. Turner plays on the edge of the grass at third. Fly ball foul. Freddie trying to get something started with 1 out. And he's that kind of a start-up player. One ball and 1 strike. 1-2. Galvis is a switch hitter. He does most of his hitting left-handed. He has 9 home runs, all 9 left-handed. Freddie's from Venezuela. Fly ball off third, slicing foul back into the crowd. Galvis back in 2013, he hit 6 home runs. 2 of them were walk-off home runs against Freddie Garcia and Aroldis Chapman. One and two. Another changeup. Maeda. Straight change, slow curveball, occasional fastball. All right, 1 and 2. There's the fastball, and there goes the ball. High drive to right field, gone. So Galvis on a 1 and 2 pitch got a fastball and knew exactly what to do with it. For Galvis, that would be his 10th home run, and all 10 hit left-handed. Phillies trying to come back. That makes it 6-3 in favor of the Dodgers. There's the fastball, and Galvis was sitting on it. Maeda looks like a bowler trying to watch the ball, and he sees where it goes, about halfway up in the pavilion. Galvis 5'10" and about 180, but he has a little sock. So here's Cody Ashe. There's that change in for a strike. So Galvis drives it out. 10 home runs, the most home runs he had hit in a year, 6. Hit off the end of the stick. 0-2 the count to Cody Ashe. Fly to center in the second inning. Top of the 4th inning, 6-3 in favor of the Dodgers. Maeda ready. Off speed. Boy, he's throwing a lot of that. Of course, then you can see after all the slow stuff, he tries to sneak a fastball by Galvis. Boom. One ball and 2 strikes. Well, he's up to 82 pitches now in the 4th inning. And that's popped up. Foul ground. Seager coming over from shortstop. And we have 2 down. So the home run by Galvis brings up Velasquez. Just looking as Maeda now has made 83 pitches. They list the pitch count. He has had over 100 pitches 3 times this year. And ball 1. The last time when he picked up the victory, Maeda went 5 2/3 innings and he made 96 pitches. 1-1 to Velasquez. Last night we saw a pretty good looking hitting pitcher, and that was Eflin, who doubled and singled, but he was rocked for 9 runs. Well, we find out today that he's on the DL, bad knees. There's an off-speed pitch for a strike. Maeda's been living in the 70s. Couple of pitches, 69, and then that fastball to Galvis. 1-2. Just foul back. We're in the 4th. Dodgers lead 6-3. Phillies left briefly 2-0. The 1-2 pitch on the way. That's off the plate. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out. 6-3 Dodgers, 4th inning. Fastball got him at 92, so he doesn't throw it very often. Once he got burned by it, the other time Galvis burned him. And at the end of 3.5 innings, 6-3 Dodgers. Closer. It's 6-3 in favor of the Dodgers. Velasquez will be facing Maeda, followed by Utley and Seager. Maeda doubled and scored a run. As we mentioned, Maeda now with 5 hits, but of course that's not in the league with people like Newcomb and Drysdale. But the pitch, ball 1. Clayton Kershaw, who hasn't pitched since the 26th of June, has 7 hits. But he's catching up. And hits a fly ball to left field, but Ashby is there and makes the catch. Hey, friends, this Sunday receive a Magic Johnson Garden Gnome. Dodgers and Pirates at 1:10. Magic Gnomes are available to the first 40,000 fans in attendance, courtesy of Bank of America. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/promotion. So Maeda, who hit a breaking ball over Ashby's head. This time it's a fly ball to left. And the batter, Chase Utley. Chase, 249, hit his 8th home run last year, hit a couple for the Dodgers last year, and when he was with Philadelphia, hit 233. So that means he has 244 home runs in his career. Takes a strike. You know what happened last night? It was the darndest thing. You never can tell what's going on just watching the players. And it began watching Corey Seager. Here's the strike 1 pitch on the way. Velasquez ready and deals. And it's a little low. Seager and Utley are very close. They play around second base, and they're just good buddies, the kid and the veteran. And they got into a discussion last night. Remember, when the Dodgers go on the road next week, they will start by going to Philadelphia. 1-1 pitch is a banger into right center for a base hit. Altair is up with it. So Utley a 1-out single to bring up Seager. Well, last night, in kidding around before the game, Seager was talking about hitting a home run. The more they got talking, Utley said to him, "If you out-homer me tonight, 2 games to none, I will dye my hair black." so that when we get to Philadelphia, I'll look like the Utley that was here 13 years ago. Well, as you know, Seager homered, but Utley homered, and then Seager homered again. So he out-homered him, but not by 2, and so Utley will go gray-haired to Philadelphia. Pitch foul back by Corey, and the count 0-1. 1 out single, and now Seager, who has struck out and singled a line drive just off the edge of Ryan Howard's first baseman. Howard holding a corner on Utley. Now the strike 1 pitch on the way. Velasquez very deliberate and goes to first base. In case you're wondering about Utley, he has stolen 2 without being caught. For Utley, of course, like other stars returning to their old team's ballpark, he'll have an experience on the 16th when the Dodgers play the Phillies. Strike 1 pitch on the way. Velasquez ready and deal. Swung on late and missed, and the count 0-2. Of course, Philadelphia always gets a lot of ribbing by people. And they talk about Philadelphia booing Santa Claus, all that stuff, but they are good fans, knowledgeable fans, and they let their feelings known. So we'll see how they treat Utley when he arrives in the city of brotherly love. Strike 2 pitch on the way. Seager lifts it foul off third, well back out of play. Still 0-2 to Corey. 6 runs, 9 hits for the Dodgers. They've had 2 home runs tonight by Kendrick and Grandal, and of course last night they had 4 home runs against Philadelphia pitching. Jeremy Hellickson tomorrow afternoon at 12:10. He's 9-7. Scott Kazmir will go with a record of 9-4. Strike 2 pitch to Corey Seager. Fastball hit fouled away upstairs. Velasquez really moving that ball, throwing 97 miles an hour. Oh, and 2 the count to Corey Seager. Utley staying right at the bag. And the strike 2 pitch on the way. Fastball hit in the air to left field pretty deep. Ashe goes back on the grass, now on the track, makes the catch, and Utley jogs back to first. So Seager a long fly ball out. We have 2 down in the 4th inning. And Justin Turner coming up. Justin singled his first at bat, so he's now hit in 10 straight. Last time up he struck out. Velasquez has a half a dozen strikeouts. What a thrill that must have been for him way back in April when Velasquez pitched against San Diego. Imagine striking out 16, shutting out the opposition without a walk. About as good a game as you'll hear about. Certainly an overpowering game, if not a perfect game. Right-hander ready. Here he comes, and it's low and inside. Ball 1. Phillies got 2 in the second. Dodgers came back with 4. Dodgers answered with 2 more in the third. Phillies came back with 1. So 6-3. And Turner drives one to left center field and deep, and that ball is gone. Over the wall and out, and the Dodgers lead 8-3, and they are just pounding these young Philadelphia pitchers. Seven runs, 10 hits for the Dodgers, 3 runs, 4 hits for the Phils, and remember, the Giants lost today 2-0. So a Dodger victory tonight. First place will be tied in the National League West. For Justin Turner, not only a 10-game hitting streak, he now has 21 home runs. Turner with 21, Seager with 21, and several others like Grandal 18. And the pitch now is low to Reddick, who has struck out twice. So just in the red. 21 home runs, the third this month. Tell you one thing, couldn't happen to a nicer guy. The 1-0 pitch, missing ball 2, 2-0. Reddick hitting in the cleanup spot, 0 for 2. 2-0 pitch, swung on, fouled off third out of play. So last night the Dodgers had 9 runs, 11 hits, including 4 home runs and 4 doubles. And they come right back tonight with 3 home runs by Kendrick, Grandal, and Turner. So they had 7 home runs against the 2 young pitchers of Philadelphia. Tomorrow, Jeremy Hellickson. 2 balls, 1 strike. Hellickson, a veteran pitcher. He's 29 years old. They'll see him tomorrow. Ground ball to the right side. On it, Hernandez. That'll be the inning. However, it'll be 2 runs on the single by Seager and the home run by Turner. And there they are, Gonzalez and Turner, making believe they're taking a selfie. 8-3 Dodgers.
At LA is brought to you by Carl's Jr. Introducing the Bacon 3-Way Burger only at Carl's Jr.
Boy, that's a picture from a few years ago. You notice everybody wears hats. Back in 1948, that was the press box. The Dodgers playing the Phillies. And if you'll notice one other thing, you see how clear it is in front of the picture of the booth? No wire, no screen. Well, when I got there 2 years later, a foul ball came into our little booth, and it was right behind home plate. And it almost hit Red Barber. And the next day, there was a wire screen. That's going to be Seager making a nice catch on that high twisting foul ball. And we have 1 away. That's our booth today, but we don't need a screen up here because we're pretty far away. But if you were visiting the Ebbets Field booth, if you went to Old Tiger Stadium, you were so close you could hear the hitters grunt. You could hear the pitchers and the catchers react. But here, oh, we're safe and sound. And a strike. 5th inning, 8-3, favor the Dodgers. 8 runs, 10 hits for the Dodgers. And look at that. Now, isn't that great? Maybe his first game, maybe not. But he's already telling people to move. He's telling the outfield to play a certain way against Herrera. Great. Odubel Herrera flied to left, struck out. No runs in the first inning, but a lot of explosions after that. Phillies 2 in the second, Dodgers with 4. Dodgers 2 in the third, Phillies 1 more in the fourth, Dodgers 2 more in the fourth. 8-3. 1-2 the count. On deck, Maikel Franco. So we're looking at the Dodger bullpen. There's no one throwing, but they are moving around with Franco on deck. Stretching legs. Maeda getting close now. Coming up pitch number 94, and we're only in the fifth. His record shows, at least in his first year in the big leagues, he's about a 5 2/3 inning pitcher. And that's probably banged into center. Over to get the ball is Reddick. The single by Herrera brings up Franco.
Third baseman Maikel Franco.
Maikel Franco hit back to the box and singled, 1 for 2. Michael is spelled M-A-I-K-E-L. Maikel Franco, not Franco, Franco. Eight to 3 favor the Dodgers. Check swing. They're going to look. No swing. 1 ball and no strikes. Franco with 20 home runs. He started out. He was called up in May, and he had 2 home runs and 8 RBI. And then in June, he had 8 home runs to give him 10, and he has doubled that since. He's 6'1", 180. 23 years old. He'll be 24 the end of this month. Just starting out. Ball 3. Franco is the fellow we were talking about. Back-to-back days at Yankee Stadium. He had 5 RBIs. Maeda anxious now. 98th pitch coming up. 3-0. Right, 3-1. So pitch number 99. We told you he's had 100 pitches 4 or 5 times, but he hasn't had 100 pitches since the end of June. Change up, whack down the left field line. Racing over to get it is Howie Kendrick. On his way to third, and getting in there head first is Herrera. So Maeda ended figured in the 5th inning. That's when he begins to struggle. Big slow curveball. So a line drive single. Runners at first and third. And of all people to come up, Frank Howard. The one guy with one swing who can even up the game. Herrera at third, Franco at first, and here's Ryan. That's the thing when you have a big gun like that on a ball club. Everybody, let's say in Philadelphia, they get into a spot like this and they go wild when Ryan checks in. Maeda ready. 0-1. That pitch now is up to 100. Dave Roberts sweating him out a little bit. They're just ready to start to throw, and it's Jesse Chavez. Oh, and 2. You have to remember, with all his power, Howard is hitting less than 200. But if you make a mistake, no balls and 2 strikes. 1 out. Rupp on deck. 1-2. Howard used to run pretty well, as big as he was. He stole a base in 2007 against the Dodgers. Remember Rudy Cianez? He stole the base against Rudy. They gave him the base as a memento. 2-2. They had a note taped on the base that read, "I am the greatest," referring, of course, to Ricky Henderson's famous quote when he broke Lou Brock's all-time record. So Ryan, with a great sense of humor, said, "I've gone in my trophy room. Might be the centerpiece. A stolen base with 'I am the greatest' on it." 2-2 to Big Ryan. And a one-hopper. Nice fielding by Utley to short to Seager. Back to first. Double play. So the Dodgers have Maeda doing a high wire act in a windstorm, and he made it to the other side. And at the end of 4.5 innings, 8-3 Dodgers. Young children, Emma and Jackson Levy. They are the sons of our producer, and we had a nice visit with them before the game. Lovely girl and boy. All right, Mike, you've made them happy. Here we go in the 5th. Gonzalez, Grandal, and Peterson. Adrian, double to right, double to left center. Right. Gonzalez coming up with bunches of base hits of late. Last night 2 singles. Tonight 2 doubles. Night before single, double, and home run. The night before that 3 more singles. 1-1. Line drive, and Howard grabs it. So they get Gonzalez taking a possible extra base hit away from him. Well, Grandal is putting on a show, isn't he? Well, catchers and home runs. Grandal now is right there with Wilson Ramos of Washington. Ramos' last home run beat Madison Bumgarner 1-0. Then you have Evan Gattis, Jonathan LaCroix, and Salvador Perez. And here he is. Grandal homered in the 3rd inning. Strike. Grandal, 18 home runs, 16 of them hit left-handed. 1-1. And when you realize the beating that he takes behind the plate, last night he took a terrible lick off the right shoulder. 1-1. High foul ball, out of play. Velasquez giving up 8 runs and 10 hits, but he's still in there. One reason Maeda is certainly not giving the Dodgers any real confidence. He is just getting by. Chavez throwing in the pen might very well come in for him. That's about it for Cantor right now, because he's not a big man. 5 2/3. That's about as far as he will go this year, until he gets a little bigger and a little stronger and a little more accustomed to pitching every 5th day, as opposed to in Japan they tell me every 6th day, and that makes a big difference. 2-2 to Grandal. I've also heard, although I've never seen it, the Japanese baseball is smaller than the American ball. Fast sinker, down he goes. Luis Garcia and Elvis Araujo begin to warm up in the Philadelphia bullpen. Jock Peterson single to left and walk. So Araujo and Garcia. The pitcher spot, Velasquez is due up 5th when they bat in the 6th inning. Peterson single and walk. Scored a run. Came home on Kendrick's home run back in the 2nd inning. Dodgers 3 home runs tonight, 4 home runs last night against the Phillies. Last night they won 9-4. Tonight they lead 8-3. And again, remember, the Giants lost 2-0. So a victory tonight, Giants and Dodgers will be tied. Three and one. Velasquez has struck out a half a dozen. Only walked 1. 3-2. Rupp, Altair, and Galvis due up in the 6th inning. We also mentioned earlier that Velasquez doesn't last long. He's averaging about 5 1/3 innings. And that's low. Ball 4. So coming into the game, he had a couple of feelings. Number one, neither pitcher would be around very long. And talking about long, it would be that kind of a game. So he's got 94. Maeda had 100. And we're only in the 5th inning. Howie Kendrick homered and struck out on Howie Kendrick bobblehead night. Dodgers haven't had to run a lot. They have some speed. Peterson has stolen 2, but he's been caught 3 times. Rob Seguin is out on deck. He would have a chance to bat for Maeda. We had the pleasure of meeting Rob's bride tonight before the game, expecting a son whom they will name Robinson. High out of play. 1-1. 8 runs, 10 hits for the Dodgers, 3 runs, 6 hits for the Phillies. Tomorrow at 12:10, Jeremy Hellickson, Scott Kazmir. 2-1. So he's right up there to 100 pitches. This will be number 98. Eight to 3 Dodgers. 5th inning. And that misses inside, so he's behind now, 3-1. There's Rob Seguin waiting for his at-bat. That marvelous moment when he had 4 RBIs. And his bride expecting their first child, reacting as you would if you were in that situation. Beautiful picture. 3-2, 2 down. Peterson can go. Ryan Howard backs off the rubber. Peterson goes, and a drive to the gap in left center. So that'll score Peterson easily. It's finally picked up by Ashe. Into second base goes Kendrick with a double, and the Dodgers lead 9-3. Howie Kendrick night. 2-run home run and a 1-run double. So the Dodgers won 9-4 last night. They lead 9-3 right now. Fastball up, and Kendrick bangs it into the gap in left center. Peterson going on a 3-2 pitch. He was going to score easily. So the Phillies are rebuilding. They have a lot of young players, as we mentioned earlier. They have the youngest team in the major league, but the young doesn't quite get it. You have to be taught. You have to be gone through the fire, and that's where they're suffering right now. And we'll be back. Kendrick, and he has had himself a night to remember. First of all, his bobblehead. Secondly, his young sons, Owens and Tyson. Then a picture with Dad after throwing out the first ball. Then the 2 youngsters gave the cry of it's time for Dodger baseball, and Dad hit a home run with Peterson aboard. And just now, he doubles home Peterson. So he's having a big night. So are the Dodgers. And it's 9-3 Dodgers. And Luis Garcia will pick up facing Rob Seguin. 0-1 to Rob. Seguin hitting .400. Total of 5 runs batted in. Slider. 0-2. Rob Segedin, his wife's name is Robin, originally signed by the Yankees out of Tulane University. 0-2. And chased another slider in the dirt. So Segedin strikes out. That'll be the second strikeout. So the exchange and a big grin as he goes to the dugout with Howie Kendrick. 9-3 Dodgers. One of the most important men in my life passed away at the age of 75 in Rochester, Minnesota. And I'm talking about Walter Francis O'Malley. God bless him. What a wonderful human being he was. And just look what he's done. He took the Dodgers' big gamble out of New York out to here. Aren't you glad the Dodgers are in Los Angeles? And again, could not let the day go by without acknowledging that sad fact. Back to this one. Jesse Chavez coming in with a 2-2 record, originally with Toronto. Last time out pitched very well. 0-2 the count to Cameron Rupp, the big catcher. Chavez pitched against the Red Sox in an inning and a third, gave up nothing but 20 pitches. 1-2. Chavez is 6'2", and they say he's 160. He is certainly stringy. And that'll take it for Rupp. One out in the 6th inning. So Maeda goes 5, makes 104 pitches. That's been the pattern for the Dodger pitchers now for quite some time. It's amazing. The Dodgers, since Clayton Kershaw went down, the Dodgers are 22-13 with a starting staff that's averaging maybe 5 innings a start. But the bullpen has been incredible. In the last 9 games, the Dodgers starting pitchers, as you look at Brandon McCarthy and Brett Anderson, they've averaged about 4 innings a start. Well, Maeda struggled, gave up a couple of base hits, but Howard, who could have tied up the game at the time, hit into a double play. Last night, young Urias barely got through 5. So it's been a struggle, and the bullpen has just been remarkable. Little ground ball to Seager. 2 down. That'll bring up Freddie Galvis. Galvis singled, stole second, stole third, and they left him. And then last time up, he got a fastball from Maeda and hit it into the right field pavilion. Galvis with 10 home runs. Ball one. So going into the game, we really expected this kind of a game. We knew Maeda from watching him all year would go 5 2/3, and we knew from his history that Velasquez averages a little more than 5 innings, and sure enough, they're both gone. Towering fly ball. Let's see, Seager. So Chavez sets him down 1-2-3 at the end of 5.5. 9-3 Dodgers.
The most exciting lineup ever. Shop online at ChooseNissan.com. And by Children's Hospital Los Angeles. We treat kids better.
9-3 in favor of the Dodgers. We go to the bottom of the inning here in the 6th. It'll be Chase Utley, Corey Seager, and then Justin Turner. Utley struck out, grounded out, and singled. Luis Garcia, and a strike, 0-1. Dodgers are so fortunate the way things have worked out. Take the right side of the Dodger infield, which most of the time these days, Utley at second and Gonzalez at first. Gonzalez and Utley were taken in the first round and in the 15th round. First and 15 in the first round of the 2000 amateur draft. And you put Utley and Gonzalez together, they have combined for 3,647 career hits. What about those fellas who were taken in the 2nd through 14th? They've combined for 755 hits. So Gonzalez and Utley, the two veterans. You have Turner, a veteran, at third, and the young shortstop Seager. 2-2. Line drive, and Utley gets on with his second base hit and goes 2 for 4. Okay, friends, don't forget, Giants-Dodgers Tuesday, August 23rd through Thursday, August 25th. Don't miss the chase for the National League West title. For tickets, visit Dodgers.com/tickets. And, of course, the Giants and the Dodgers, if the Dodgers can hold on to any part of a 6-run lead, they will be tied exactly with the Giants for first place. Dave Roberts and his ball club with one more shot at Philadelphia tomorrow. I assume the Giants have one more in Miami. 0-1. That's the way it looks right now. Dodgers trail by a half, and the victory tonight would wash away the half. 0-1 the count to Corey Seager. Struck out, singled, slide to left. Corey really works that gum, doesn't he? Slapped that fastball, and it was a good one outside part of the plate. 2 strikes. He wasn't about to just play umpire, so he fouled it off, and it's still 0-2. Foul back. Luis Garcia trying to restore order. Luis Amado Garcia from Santo Domingo was originally signed by the Dodgers back in 2004. Spent about 4 years in the very beginning. Went to Ogden finally. Never really did much. By 2011, he wasn't even playing. 0-2. When the Dodgers signed Garcia, he wasn't quite 17. And a line drive base hit to right. Utley to second, and he will hold. So the Dodgers come right back charging. Utley singles, Seager singles, and here comes Turner. Justin Turner had singled in the first inning, struck out in the second, and unloaded in the fourth. So Turner and Gonzalez, that quick selfie, as if that's what they were doing. Turner, 21 home runs, 67 runs batted in. He has hit safely in 10 in a row, and he's up there now. 2 on, nobody out. Dodgers 9 runs, 13 hits. Phillies 3 runs, 6 hits. And ball 1. We were estimating the Giants will play the Marlins tomorrow. That'll be a game that starts at 9:10 here in Los Angeles. They're in Miami. So we might have a final on that game before our game starts at 12:10. It'll be Jeff Samardzija and David Phelps for Miami. Samardzija is really struggling now. His record is 9-8. 2 balls and no strikes the count to Turner. 2 on, nobody out. Dodgers won 9-4 last night, and they are leading handily 9-3 tonight. 2-0. Fastball at 96. So Garcia throwing hard. When the Dodgers had Luis Garcia, They made a deal with the Washington Nationals. The Nationals sent the Dodgers Ronnie Belliard, remember? A second baseman. Here's the 2-1 pitch on the way. And that's fouled off. 2-2. Two balls, two strikes, nobody out. 2 on. Fastball slider, that's what we've seen so far with Garcia. Slider down, takes care of him. So Turner strikes out a second time. 1 away. Now let's see. Pete Mackanin going out to talk to the plate umpire, Jeff Kellogg. Usually that means a double switch. If you look who made the last out, that would be Galvis. So they're looking for a spot. Taylor Featherston is coming in. So it is Galvis who is going to come out. And we're waiting for the pitcher. So Taylor Featherstone will bat ninth. And the pitcher will go into Galvis' spot. That would be Elvis Araujo. And we'll be right back. Favor of the Dodgers. Araujo coming in, and Elvis will be pitching to Josh Reddick, who has struck out twice and grounded out. Interesting. Featherstone came into the game and took some ground balls at shortstop, and then Freddie Galvis came back, and Featherstone then moved over to second base. So Featherstone batting ninth in the pitcher's spot. 0-1 the count to Reddick. Breaking ball in the dirt. 1 ball and 1 strike. And a drive into the gap in left center on his horse, Ashe, and makes the catch, and the runners have to get back. So Reddick, a long fly ball. Cody Ashe making a good running catch, and with 2 down, the batter will be Adrian Gonzalez.
Adrian Gonzalez.
Nice play by Ashe to catch up to that. Elvis Araujo is a big fella. He is 6'7". According to the weight, They have him listed at 274. I don't know if he's that much, but he is 6'7". He's from Maracaibo in Venezuela. Phillies signed him a couple of years ago. And a strike to Adrian Gonzalez. Strike one pitch to Avian. He is doubled twice, grounded out. Slider on a check swing. One ball and one strike. Big ground ball. Howard will take it to the bag, and that will be that. So the Dodgers get 2 hits and nothing more. And at the end of 6, 9-3. Oh my goodness! What's this noise going on? What's that? Person sleep? Good night, everybody. It's not much of a game anyway. Dodgers winning 9-3. One 9-4. They're leading 9-3 tonight. And we go to the 7th inning. Cody Ashe against Jesse Chavez. Ashe flied to center, popped to short, 0 for 2. Dodgers will load up the right side. Turner's the middleman. Seager all alone on the left. Ashe with 4 home runs. And ball 1. Philadelphia actually left. They began the game with 2 runs in the 2nd inning, and then the Dodgers just took over. And a little pop fly. Seager can't make it. So Ashe gets himself a little flair for a base hit. And the batter will be Taylor Featherstone.
Second baseman number 21, Taylor Featherstone.
Interesting to note that Taylor Featherstone collected his first major league hit against Jesse Chavez up at Oakland. Featherstone, originally signed by the Rockies out of Texas Christian. He's a Texan from Houston, 0-1. Played very briefly, well, not so briefly, 100 games, or at least 100 appearances for the Angels last year. 6'1", 185, and he'll be 27 October the 8th. Chopper foul. Featherston was the shortstop for TCU, helping them to the College World Series back in 2010. Rocky signed him a year later, but he never did play with Colorado. Oh, 0-2. Featherston was traded by the Angels to the Phillies in February of this year for what they call future considerations. 2 years ago, the Cubs picked him up out of the Rockies organization and sold him to the Angels. 1-2 to Taylor. 2-2. Jesse Chavez, who wobbled his first couple of appearances and then did exceptionally well last time out and doing very well right now. And a line drive sinking in front of Kendrick. So a flare for a base hit, a line drive for a base hit. 2 on, nobody out.
Shortstop number 16, Cesar Hernandez.
Cesar Hernandez, who began the game at second and is now at shortstop, replacing Freddie Galvis. Cesar hitting .288. Popped up, walk, fouled out. On deck, Maikel Franco. Luis Avilan, left-hander, begins to warm up in the Dodger bullpen. A lot of the cell phones light up in the ballpark. 9-3 Dodgers. We're in the 7th inning. Little ground ball. Turner makes the play, and then in the act of throwing, Utley loses, but the out is recorded. So Hernandez is aboard, hitting into a force play 5-4. On the play, Ashe takes third.
Center fielder number 37, Odubel
Utley
Herrera.
comes across for one, and then while trying to throw the ball, it flew away. So the out recorded right there. So Odubel Herrera flied to left, struck out, single to right. Larry Boa is the bench coach for the Phillies. Boa was here 2008, 2009. A big favorite in Philadelphia, and well, he should be. He had a tremendous time playing for the Phils, involved with, I know, over 1,200 double plays. First and third, one out, and ball one. That almost got him on the leg. Herrera single to right field, hitting .283. Phillies began the night 15.5 games behind Washington, in 4th place in the East. 10 games under 500. Phillies averaging just about 25,000 a game at home. Dodgers, as we await the numbers for tonight, are averaging over 45,000 a game. And they'll be here tomorrow, remember, at 12:10. Going to be a quick night. Two and one. Herrera, good center fielder. Wide open stands, but then he'll drive in. 2-2. Phillies actually led for a moment 2-0 in the second inning. Dodgers came back with 4, then added 2, added another 2. They were leading 8-3, added one more to make it 9-3, and that's where we are. 2-2, 1 out. Jeremy Hellickson with a record of 9-7. He'll be on the mound for the Phillies. Scott Kazmir for the Dodgers. A 12-10 game. Strike 3 called. So Herrera just turns, sadly walks away, and the batter will be Franco.
Third baseman number 7, Michael Franco.
So that'll bring up Michael Franco. Hit back to the box, single to short, single to left. 2 for 3. Back-to-back singles by Ashe and Featherston, but then Hernandez hit into a force play, and Herrera just struck out. Ashe down the line from third. Half swing on a high slider for a swing. If not slider, just a high cutter, late action. Franco 2 for 3. Foul back. 0-2. Franco signed by the Phillies. He was a free agent in the Dominican. Phillies brought him up briefly 2 years ago. Then again last year briefly in the 30s for games. Time. Two out, 2 on. Dodgers lead 9-3. 1-2. Maeda went 5. Chavez set him down 1-2-3 in the 6th. Little spot of trouble here in the 7th with Avilan throwing back of him. 1-2. So 3-2, 2 down. The runner at first, that would be Ashe, who's at third, and Hernandez at first. Hernandez ready to go. Gonzalez not holding the corner. Breaking ball lifted. Backing out into right field is Utley, calling all the way, and that's it. So no runs, 2 hits and 2 left. Nice bit of pitching by Chavez. 2 innings under his belt. Dodgers lead 9-3. Dodgers holding on to that 9-3 lead. They won last night 9-4. With the left-hander on the mound, Araujo. Grandal turns around to bat right-handed. 1 ball and no strikes. Grandal hit back to the box, homered with a man aboard, and struck out. 2-0 the count. In the bullpen, Avilan stops throwing, and Grant Dayton gets up. Chavez did a fine job in his 2 innings, making 31 pitches. 3-0. Jock Peterson waiting on deck, and then Howie Kendrick. They let him swing 3-0, and he comes up empty. 3-1. Grandal, 2 home runs batting right-handed, 16 batting left-handed. And that's ball 4. So Araujo draws a walk. Peterson has singled and walked twice. So Jock coming up against a 6'7" left-hander, Elvis Araujo. And ball 1. That makes it even. 1 ball and 1 strike. Araujo on the DL last year. He had a groin strain. He was signed by Cleveland and then picked up by the Phillies. Off speed fly ball into right field, very shallow, and going out to make the catch for the first out of the inning. So that'll bring up Howie Kendrick, and it looks like another double switch. Pete Mackinnon coming in. Jimmy Paredes, a switch hitter, is going out to right field. It will be Herrera who will leave the game. So a double switch. David Hernandez coming in, and we'll be back. Live with the MLB.com at Bat app. Download MLB.com at Bat. That's the #1 app for live baseball on your phone and tablet. Couple of changes by Philadelphia. Johnny Paredes moves Altair to center field. Paredes now in right field, and the new pitcher is David Hernandez. You may remember David, although he was signed by the Orioles. He spent a couple of years with Baltimore, but about 5 with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Big guy, 6'3", 230. And Kendrick line drive at short to Hernandez for the out. The Kendrick with a home run and a double and a line drive out. Kike Hernandez will now come up and bat for Chavez.
Hitter number 14, Kike Hernandez.
So a nice 2 innings turned in by Jesse Chavez. And here's Kike. Kike appeared as a pinch hitter last night and popped up, hitting over 300 since coming back from the DL, and takes a strike. (9-3) Dodgers, bottom of the 7th, 2 out. 1-1. That's off the plate, 2-1. Hernandez from Sacramento now lives in Elk Grove, California. 31 years old. Way out in front is Kike, and the count 2-2. Hernandez basically fastball, curveball, changeup. 2-2. Looked like that breaking ball down and away. So Kike goes down. The Dodgers leave Grandal on a walk. And at the end of 7, 9-3 Dodgers. And the Dodgers bring in left-hander Grant Dayton. For Grant Dayton, this would be his second stint with the Dodgers. He has 6 strikeouts in 4 innings. It's in 2 games. Made his big league debut on the 22nd of July. Grant Dayton is from Madison, Alabama, and originally an 11th round pick out of Auburn. 6'2", 200, 29 years old, and he'll be facing big Ryan Howard, then Cameron Rupp, and Aaron Altair. Ryan Howard flied deep to center, flied to center, and hit into a double play. Howard batting .184, but he carries a lot of thunder in that stick. 16 home runs. Slow breaking ball for a strike. 0-1. Oh and 1. Fastball in there at 92. So quickly, no balls, 2 strikes. Howard 373 home runs, and down he goes on 3 pitches. So 1 out in the 8th inning. Howard goes 0 for 4.
Catcher number 29, Cameron Rupp.
Cameron Rupp walked, flied to center, struck out. 0 for 2. Rupp 276. Big enough to hit 13 home runs for sure. Phillies have hit 2 home runs tonight. Altair with a man aboard in the 2nd. Freddie Galvis with nobody on in the 4th. 0-1. Grant Dayton in high school threw 2 no-hitters. He was also on the National Honor Roll and listed as a who's who among American high school students. Fastball, slider, and change. 1 ball, 1 strike. Crowds him a little with the fastball. 2-1. Two and 2. Kept that fastball away. Rupp went after it. Altair on deck. Dodgers broke the game wide open in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th inning. They scored 8 runs in those 3 innings and then added 1 more. And he takes care now of Rupp. So it's a nice inning so far. Dayton comes in, strikes out Howard, strikes out Rupp, and here is Aaron Altair. Altair hit a 2-run home run, struck out and grounded out. Change up in for a strike. Grant Dayton 6'2", 200. And a pop fly left side. Seager has his eyes trained on it. So a nice inning for Grant Dayton. 2 strikeouts and a pop fly. And we're heading for the bottom of the 8th. 9-3 Dodgers. Utley leading off. Dodgers holding on to a 9-3 lead. Utley is struck out, grounded out, then single to right and single to center. Utley has been struggling of late. Last 10 games, he hit about, well, just less than 150. 1 for 4 last night, 2 for 4 tonight, and ball 1. So a 3-hour game exactly right now. And remember, tomorrow it'll be 12-10, the final game of the series. That's a strike. 1-1. Utley, Seager, and Turner. 1-2. Big David Hernandez trying to get the last couple of outs. When the Phillies come up in the 9th, they'll be at the bottom part of the lineup. Two Hernandez players. Hernandez the shortstop and Hernandez the pitcher, and down goes Utley. 1 out. David now working on Seager. Seager is 2 for 4. Struck out, singled, flied out, singled again. Hernandez 2 and 3 as far as his decisions, with an earned run average over 4. 1 ball and no strikes. Two and 0. Three and 0 with Justin Turner on deck. Jimmy Paredes, the right fielder, will lead off in the 9th inning for Philadelphia. 3-1 the count now to Corey Seager. Off speed, little breaking ball, 3-2. J.P. Howell gets up in the Dodger bullpen on a 3-2 pitch. Corey Seager hit foul. They've loaded up the right side on Corey. Check swing. They're going to call him out on it. So we have 2 down on strikeouts, Utley and Seager. And Justin Turner coming up. Turner single, struck out, hit a 2-run home run and struck out. Justin has now joined 4 other Dodger third basemen who have hit 20 or more home runs in a season. Adrian Beltre, Ron Cey, Todd Zeile, and Tim Wallach. Strike. Peterson has walked twice and singled, looking through the Dodger lineup. The only one who has struggled tonight would be Josh Reddick, who's on deck. Reddick struck out twice, grounded out, fly deep to left center. Popped in the air. Howard can't get it, but coming over is Featherston to make the catch. So the Dodgers tiptoe through the 8th, and we go to the 9th, 9-3 Dodgers. On Sportsnet LA is brought to you by BMW. See a Southern California BMW Center today for exceptional offers. Dodgers leading 9-3 again, second night in a row. They punish Philadelphia, winning last night 9-4, 9-3 tonight. Jimmy Paredes, their right fielder, will be coming up. Tyler Goodall is on deck. Jimmy Paredes will be facing J.P. Howell. Paredes, a switch hitter, batting 198 and hitting about $1.25 right-handed. And ball one. Paredes, good running speed, covers a lot of ground in the outfield. He's from the Dominican and originally signed by the Yankees. 2-0. "27 years old, 6'1", about 185. And a strike, 2-1. The Astros got him. They sent Lance Berkman to the Yankees. And then the Marlins claimed him. Then the Orioles claimed him. The Royals claimed him. Foul ball down the line. The Orioles got him back, sending money to Kansas City. Then the Blue Jays got him. And they traded Jimmy to the Phillies for cash. So he's bounced around a good deal. First at bat for him 5 years ago, he hit a 2-run triple for the Astros. Line drive. Oh, a backhanded knockdown, but no play. So Seager prevents the ball from getting through, but Paredes has himself a base hit. 3 hits in that 7 spot. Galvis had a single and a home run, and now Paredes a base hit against Howell. Cody Ashe has flied to center, popped to short, single to short. Taylor Featherston is out on deck. In fact, check me now. Goodell goes back out there. Tyler up there right now trying to get something going after that infield single. $42,859 came out to the ball game tonight. Dodgers broke it wide open by the 4th inning. Phillies unable to recover. And that's low, ball 2. Tyler coming off the bench. Last night he was 1 for 4. And Goodell takes a strike. 2-1. Two balls, 1 strike. Fouled away. Jeremy Hellickson 9-7. Scott Kazmir 9-4. Tomorrow at 12:10. Still 2-2. Goodell came in hitting .202. He has 4 home runs, 16 runs batted in. And ball 3. Tyler David Goodell from San Mateo and lives now in Hermosa Beach. 3-2. And down he goes. So 1 out, 9th inning. Taylor Featherston batting 9th in the lineup. Besides pitcher, Pete Mackanin has moved around 4 positions. Featherston finishing up at second base. Cesar Hernandez, who started at second, is finishing at short for Freddie Galvin. And a strike. Kenta Maeda went 5 innings and picks up the victory should the Dodgers hold on. Foul ball. Dodgers again having to get into the bullpen relatively early. Maeda went 5. Jesse Chavez came in, pitched very well. Grant Dayton came in and pitched an inning. And now Howell is the closer. Dodgers trying to be 23-13 since Clayton Kershaw went down. 10 games above 500. 0-2. 1-2. Clayton busy in the dugout. He and Brandon McCarthy, Kike Hernandez. Scott Van Slyke with a sprained wrist is on the DL, but he's been in the dugout. Chris Taylor is back. 2-2. At first base with 1 out, Jimmy Paredes. 9 runs, 13 hits for the Dodgers. 3 runs, 9 hits for the Phils. Dodgers last night hammered out 4 home runs. Tonight they've had him hit by Turner, Grandal, and Kendrick. 2-2. Big bouncer to Turner, down to Utley, over to first in the dirt, not in time. So a force play 5-4. Inning is still alive. Take another look. Turner got it down to Utley, and Paredes right in on him. The throw on a bounce, a little too late. Dodgers on the phone, and Clayton Kershaw talking to the videographer, I assume. And he's saying, well, you might have argued that if you wanted to. There goes the runner, and a drive to right center. Peterson is cruising over, and that's the game. Phillies get a base hit in the 9th inning, but nothing more. Big victory for the Dodgers. They have finally, after being 8 games behind San Francisco, have finally caught them in a first-place tie. 18 pitches from J.P. Howell. The victory goes to Maeda. Certainly the player of the game, Howie Kendrick, who had that big home run back in the 2nd inning. So on Howie Kendrick night, it has been a great night. And the Dodgers Tide will take the field tomorrow. And we'll have a pretty good idea. Remember, the Giant game will be on at about 9. Dodger game here at 12:10. We'll talk to you then. Till then, a very pleasant good evening, everybody.